Good evening, everyone. It is now 5:30, and I will call this regular work session of the Burnsville City Council to order. Now, before we begin, I want us to take a moment of silence to remember our fallen heroes. Tonight, our police department, our colleagues, and their families are in Washington, D.C. Tonight is the candlelight service. And we will never forget the ultimate sacrifice that Matthew Ruge, Paul Elmstrand, and Adam Finseth made to save the lives of 7 children. And so we stand in solidarity with our team out in Washington, D.C., as they attend the candlelight vigil. And on Thursday, the names of our fallen heroes will be etched into the memorial. And so tonight, I'd like for us to take a moment of silence in solidarity with them in Washington, D.C. Now, tonight's meeting is a hybrid meeting, and we welcome everybody here this evening. And we also have people who can also join us virtually. And the public can also attend the meeting in person or via Zoom. And they can watch this meeting on Comcast Cable Channel 16 or 859, or online on www.burnsvillemn.gov/meetings. I know that out there we also have sign-in list if somebody wants to speak, and I do have one person who would like to speak on one of the during one of the items. So with that, we will then continue, and this is a work session, so it's very informal, and we go directly to our items on the agenda. And the first item on the agenda is the consideration of Pride and Juneteenth celebration as community events. So we also have a policy on this, and I'm going to call on our Director of Strategic Initiatives, Bethany Brewer, who is going to set up this particular item. Ms. Brewer, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Mayor and Council. Happy to introduce. We have some friends from the community here that are going to share this evening, so happy to just quick reminder, set us up for our conversation on our community events. So the City Council does have a policy that governs the contributions to legacy, community, and special events. It outlines 3 types of events in our community. Policy 1.027 out on our public webpage. It's available. It's linked in the packet. And a few things, just quick reminders for me on the policy. So at the April 15th work session, our City Council asked staff to reach out to the coordinators of our Pride and Juneteenth events to invite them to come and share a little bit more about their events with the City Council, and then for the City Council to have the opportunity to discuss recognition of those events as a community event as acknowledged in that policy. So just again, a quick few reminders about the policy. A community event is a non-routine social activity bringing a large number of people together in a defined area that requires city services to ensure safety and coordination. So for a community event, for an event to meet the criteria of community event, that tier in the policy, it must be held in a city park or city-owned facility. The event organizers must be a local nonprofit organization. The event must fall on a mutually acceptable date. Organizers must demonstrate sustainable financial plan, and then an event being designated as a community event does require official action of the City Council. For events that are designated as community events, if it meets all of those criteria, the city may consider sponsorship by waiving up to 50% of the cost of basic city services, which would include police and fire support, public works, parks, equipment, any of that type of assistance, and the day of the event up to $5,000. And then for promotion, the city promotes, in those cases, promotes events through email, web, social media. Organizers are responsible for the content of promotion. And then event organizers recognize the city as a sponsor in their promotional materials for these types of events. And then the process, if a community event is designated, they would reapply annually for that sponsorship. And the city and the event organizers would enter into an agreement. A financial statement may be requested by the city council if that is your prerogative. And then just a few things. We have, again, our organizers from each of our events here. And we've got Juneteenth scheduled on June 21 from 12 to 3:30 at Nicollet Commons Park. And then Pride is scheduled September 13th from 10 to 4 at Nicollet Commons. And hope you all will correct me if any of that's incorrect. But got that from our events team. So would love to introduce kind of our organizers and just let y'all share for a few minutes with the city council if that works for y'all.
Thank you, Bethany, and welcome, Pastor Gordon and Miss Allison Cromie and your whole team, and Pastor Gordon and your team as well. Welcome. So it's wonderful that you all stepped up and said this must continue in the city of Burnsville. So thank you for that. One of the things that we look at for all of the events that happen in our community is that we want to make sure that you have the ability to be sustainable year after year after year. And so tonight, if you could share with us what you're going to be doing to meet the policy that we have before you. Ms. Cromie, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yes, so thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Allison Cromie. I'm the president of the board for Burnsville Pride, and I'm joined here by Hannah Stringer, who is our secretary, and Lance Wong, who just recently joined us as our treasurer. Our vice president, Laura Steinmetz, was not able to be here tonight, but we do have a team of 4 of us who are at the lead of this group. We obviously stepped up last year to form this and immediately began the process of creating a nonprofit in order to continue bringing this, not only this event to our community, but to really, it says right in our mission. Our mission is to champion love, acceptance, and equality, building a stronger, more united Burnsville for everyone. It's well known that when you think about Pride, you think about the cities, you think about St. Paul, Minneapolis, and we have an incredibly vibrant, diverse community here right in Burnsville. And that's one of the reasons why we think this is so important, and we are so excited to bring this event to our city and continue the event with our city and expand on it. This year's event, we have moved Pride to September in order to not compete with many of the prides who are around the cities here. I believe June 7th has about 7 different prides running on it. And so in order to seek out maybe a little bit better weather and more attendance, we wanted to move it to another time in the year. It also gave us more time to get everything together and with a new organization. During this event, we are expanding it from what it has been in the past with entertainment. We are going to bring in vendors, but continue having activities. We're continuing to look for a family-friendly focused event so that we are able to bring as many people together that day as possible to celebrate our community and the many people who live right here. As far as where we have gone from a fundraising and sustainability standpoint, we are prepping for our first big fundraiser in June. We are going to align some of our major fundraising pieces with Pride Month, which makes sense as kind of a coming out day for our organization, you could say. We'll be holding a silent auction and a fundraiser at Trove Brewing on June 19th in the afternoon.
Where is it going to be?
Where? At Trove Brewing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have been a wonderful and excellent partner so far and have hosted quite a few of our events. We have gathered almost $12,000 worth of silent auction donations to date. And assuming we get maybe 50% of retail value on those, we are pretty sure that we will at least get about a $5,000 to $6,000 raised just from that one event itself. Not to add in, anything else we choose to do that day, such as raffles and other donations at the door of our event. We are also having a charity bingo fundraiser at the next week at Roxy's Cabaret. They are in Minneapolis, but they do drag queen bingo every Tuesday and Thursday, and it all goes to benefit local charity organizations. So we expect to get potentially about $1,000 from there. Our festival itself, we've started putting together our budget. You each have our first draft of our budget. Obviously, as a new, we're still figuring out and getting quotes on all of the various things we are going to need. But we do have some estimates in there to start, and while we may be missing some small things, I think we have a lot of the big items in there already. Based on that, though, with the addition of sponsorships, with our vendor fees and all of that, if we can get a good handful of sponsors between now and September, we do expect to see probably about a $20,000 to $25,000 raised yet this year in order to put back into the festival itself, with the goal being after this first year expanding and being able to do more community events throughout the year and not just for the Pride Festival. So anything you would add in?
I think you covered that beautifully.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Allison? Any questions? Yes. Kara.
So if you become a community event, that would allow you to be reimbursed up to $5,000 for things such as, like if you need police presence, safety presence, anything like that. Do you foresee that you're going to have those types of expenses?
Yes, I do know for sure that the blockade for Nicollet Commons Park is a requirement, as well as the police presence to monitor that. We do have the opportunity, and right now we're looking into potentially using outside security companies for mostly inside the festival, but also having that police presence as required by the city. So yes, there is that, absolutely. And then beyond that, I am still, there's some information like I'll need on permits and all of that, and what else we're gonna need for that from the city itself.
Thank
So
you.
yes, there will be some expenses.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Okay. So one of the things as we go through this process, we will talk about it, and then it will come before the city council in a formal action to agree that it is a community event for this year. And so we're going to be taking a look at the process as we continue to move forward. Okay, so it seems to me that you've got a great plan in place so that you can raise the money so you can hold the festival
Yes.
as a community event. And you have events that will also help you to raise the money.
Correct.
And move forward. And thank you for sharing your financial statement with us.
Yes.
Because that's important. Yeah. And
is.
you're a 501c3 and you have a tax ID number.
Yes, we do.
Okay. And so I think one of the things that we'll also talk about, and I believe Bethany, they also have to submit an application to be a community event so that it can come before the city council
Yeah, so
for action.
they've, I think, applied to be a special event to this point. They've
Yeah,
filled
I
out
know.
that
Once we
paperwork,
go through, I just want to
yeah.
make sure that we have all the
Yeah.
information so people understand the process.
Yeah.
Okay?
Great.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Pastor Gordon.
Yes.
And thank you for everything that you have done, because you've been a part of Juneteenth from the very beginning. So thank you for your partnership and all of that. And tell us about how you will continue to move Juneteenth as a community event that
Yes.
will be sustainable throughout the coming years.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council members. I am Pastor John Gordon of Spirit of Truth Church here in Burnsville, and I want to thank you for your continued interest in supporting Juneteenth. Just for some context, Juneteenth, this is our 5th year here in the city, and it started with a phone call from myself to the city community engagement leader, Amber Jacobs.
Yeah, yeah.
And we discussed would the city be interested in sponsoring a Juneteenth event that we felt would provide some healing to our community after the worldwide pandemic. We thought it would be a good opportunity for us to come together in solidarity and in celebration of the Black community specifically, because the Black community was healing after the tragic deaths of so many Black individuals, and then the death of George Floyd put a focus on Minnesota in particularly. And so this year, the Juneteenth event has and does continue to be one of the few opportunities for the entire community to come together in celebration of and with Black folks and Black families to help the city live out its slogan that we all belong here. And so for the past 4 years, the event has not been without its challenges, and also it has presented a number of joys. The first year, the event was planned and successfully executed in less than 60 days. And the community showed up in a great way, and we were pleased with that. The second year, we were covered by a cloud of Canadian forest fire smoke. And then last year, we were welcomed a downpour of rain and moved inside, and yet the city responded. And this year, the event has had its own challenges. But thanks in large part to our community partners who have come alongside to support us, my church, the Chad Lumbers here, and Christy Barnes here with the Dakota County Library. We've got many supporters, Giannis and Lee Moffitt of the YMCA, the dynamic duo of Hamdi and Etika, the IDS 191 Community Engagement Partners. We've all brought together our resources and our ideas to continue this event. And I want to say that this grassroots endeavor would certainly not have materialized without the passion and the support from the Burnsville PD engagement team. Sergeant Brent Murray and Sergeant Ben Archibald. I butchered his name, but I think you know who he is. And as was mentioned, they're in Washington, D.C. today, representing the fallen brothers and the heroes of our community. We owe the progress to this event in large part to them. So the plans for the event is to hold it on Saturday, June 21st, from noon to 3:30 p.m. at Nicollet Commons Park. And as mentioned, we've pooled our resources together, and we've been able to secure a DJ, a dance line instructor, which is a popular event at a popular portion of the event. We've got a live band, a soul food truck. Juneteenth, you got to have soul food. The library is providing free cupcakes and snow cones, activities for the kids, henna tattoos and face painting, and we've added vendors this year as well. We still need help with advertising and resources to cover the cost of the closing of West 126th Street and the use of the Ames Center bathrooms. But with the partnerships that we have that believe, as I do, that this event is important to our community, we have a solid group of people who are committed to working together, pooling our resources together to continue this event, to send a message that all people are valued in the Burnsville community. And with this event, we're able to show that in a great way. So those are the plans for our Juneteenth celebration. What questions can I address?
Questions for Pastor Gordon?
Same question. So what city resources will you need? And then you can hopefully then be reimbursed up to $5,000 to cover those.
Sure. As I mentioned, the closing of West 126th Street, there's a fee associated with that. We would need help with that. We would need help with advertising, and there will be the police presence there because of our partnership with the engagement team, but if there's more of the presence required, then we would need help with that. The Ames Center bathrooms, there's a fee required to have those available for the community. There are some bathrooms there, but they're not sufficient, I don't believe. And so to have resources to support those needs would be what I would say. Chad, can you think of anything else?
I think you've just about covered it, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
One distinction I just would add to the Pastor John's presentation is just to acknowledge that Pastor John has brought together organizations rather than individuals. So we are working with the YMCA, we're working with the library, we're working with the school district. So those are some of the community organizations that are showing their support for this initiative.
Yeah. And a special shout out to Christy Barnes. She's retiring this year, but she scheduled her retirement after the Juneteenth event because she wanted to do it one more time.
Well, it's always good to see, it's always good to see Chad and Christy and the team out there encouraging our students to read.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
So it's always wonderful. And thank you for all the work that you have done so far, Pastor Gordon, because I also know that other faith communities are also going to be helping out
Yes.
during this time, because I think last year, your partners at the Methodist Church,
Yes, they did.
yeah,
They
were
ca- they
a
came
big
alongside
partner
us.
in helping with all of the volunteer work that needed to be done. Yeah, and that was, because I've been to both Juneteenth and Pride events, and both were, the one Pride event, it rained so hard, and we're underneath all of the tents and all of that, and it was muddy and everything. But what you did for Juneteenth is that you turned it around, and with the partnership with the school district, we were able to
Move inside.
move inside.
Yes, yes.
And so that helped. So you put together a great team of partners
Yes,
to help with all of that.
Absolutely.
So it seems like both organizations have a good plan in place, members of the council, of how they're going to move forward and also raise money. So the one thing that you have to do is to work with our staff to get that application so that it can come before us at a city council meeting for formal action. Okay.
will do.
Is there anything that we have missed or our staff have not talked to you about that you need information about? Because I know, Pastor Gordon, I know that you've worked with Amber and our engagement team, so you're pretty familiar with all of what needs to happen. But I
Yes.
think Allison, you two have worked with our engagement team.
Yeah, the engagement team as well, JJ Ryan has also been
Yeah.
my contact, and, yeah, I think my only question would be, just to understand the full breadth of what is eligible for, reimbursement, and,
Yeah.
so we
It's-
can plan for
Not
that.
to exceed 5,000.
Yeah,
Okay. And our staff can
yes.
work with you in putting together your application to come before us for consideration.
Great.
Okay?
And who should be our contact person for this?
Bethany?
Bethany?
Yeah, I'll take it,
Yeah.
I'll take it from tonight, and then I'll work with, so
Amber?
Garrett's team and JJ are also
Yeah.
very well connected, so I'll make sure that I'm coordinating with them.
Sounds great.
Yep.
So, is that, yes,
Yeah, Mayor, and just
Mr.
for the
Thompson.
council's, just for the clarity of staff, so assuming there's council consensus tonight to move forward with the community event recognition, we will work with the application, well, sorry, the organizers of the two events to get the applications and get those onto a council's consent agenda for approval.
yeah, that's what I saw with everybody nodding.
I do have something to
So,
say, though.
you know, thank you, because the head nods are not verbal, right? And so you're trying to, okay? Yeah, there's a
Okay,
head
but
nod.
I'm okay, but I
Yeah,
have
It's kind of
something
a
to say
joke
to
because
this
you
group.
said that.
so.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, I have
Yeah.
something to say to the group too, so.
Pardon me?
I have something to say to them. I'd like to.
oh, please.
Yes.
Yeah,
I want to thank you all for stepping up. I'm glad our pause didn't actually happen, and the community's coming together to make this happen. I was thrilled when I heard that these two groups were going to do this, so this is something our community needs, and so thank you for doing this. And yes, I'm okay with them being a community event.
yeah. And I know you are.
Yes.
Yes, I saw the thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay,
Each with a thumb.
yeah, yeah.
Two thumbs up.
I'm just wanting to make sure that we have audible so that, and Councilmember Keely?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Oh, can I add one more thing?
yeah, sure,
Dakota County Library, thank you. You guys always show up for
They
all
rock.
the things you
Yes.
do.
They rock.
yeah.
Thank you very
they-
much.
On everything, oh my gosh.
Rock stars.
Chad, to you and your team, I always enjoy that, and I always enjoy seeing all of the kids and all the activities that you put together that they enjoy. Yeah, thank you so much. So,
And if the council could take a vote tonight to postpone Christie's retirement,
I'll second that.
we'll have to talk to Chad, and I think Commissioner Workman is here. I mean, she's our commissioner, so she has a voice over on that board. Yeah. Yeah, Commissioner Workman, they are wonderful. If you haven't been to, yeah. Chad and his team are just phenomenal. Okay, thank you so much for coming in. We'll let you enjoy the rest of the beautiful day and evening, and thank you for coming in, and our staff stand ready to work with you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was trying to have 13 last night. Egan's got a speed trap set up. We don't even do that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. The next item is Dakota County's Park Visioning Plan, and presenting this evening is Ms. Lisa, who is the principal planner for Dakota County. Welcome, Ms. Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. And as noted, Commissioner Workman is also
Yes.
here this evening. So this evening, I'm going to provide an overview of our draft vision plan for parks, greenways, and natural systems. We have had about a year-long process that we're nearing the end of. And we spent most of the last year in the spring and the fall looking at our existing park system, reaching out to the community. And then this winter, we drafted a public review draft, which is out right now. And that's the phase that we are in today. We're in the public review period. One more week left in the public review period. And the plans are online with the ability to comment, and we've had a number of in-person, both pop-ups at community events and an open house last week. So the purpose of this project has been to update the 2030 Dakota County vision for parks and greenways and natural systems. And that plan was developed in 2008, and so it's about 15 years old, and a lot has changed since then. Our greenway miles, which are our regional trails and natural resource corridors, have expanded from about 14 miles to nearly 50. We have a new park, Whitetail Woods Regional Park, and the number of people visiting our parks, the Dakota County parks, has grown from about 1 million in 2006 to nearly 3 million today. This plan will be the basis for Parks Department work over the next 25 years. And so we're really taking a broad look. It is a high-level plan. We're looking at vision, goals, and strategies. We don't have the detailed tactics and metrics that will come in our operational plans. So the plan itself is organized into 4 chapters, and I will briefly touch on each one. This slide has key findings, summarizes the key findings. They are small on the screen, but I just want to highlight 3 important takeaways from them. First of all, Dakota County, we learned, is really seen as a leader in nature-based parks, but we are not, the demographics of our park visitors are not what we would expect based on county demographics. There are many demographic groups that we are not serving as well as we might expect. The county's population is growing modestly, and as it grows, there will be more demand for parks and less land available. And our park, the Dakota County Park System is aging. A lot of the facilities, when we looked at this plan 15 years ago, were brand new or have been built since then, but aging infrastructure and funding are going to be things that we look at in the future. The second chapter is the vision framework. And the vision framework is made up of several things: the vision, core values, which sit at the center, goals, and strategies. The updated vision is nature protected, community reflected, all are connected. And the vision speaks to 3 hallmarks of Dakota County parks: nature protected, protecting nature; community reflected, parks are for people and bringing community into the vision, and that was not part of the 2008 vision. And all are connected, which are parks are connected by greenways, habitat by natural resource corridors, and people are connected to nature and each other. The vision is supported by 15 goals, and they're on this slide, and I hope that they've been in the packet so that you had a chance to, you can have a chance to read them. They are aspirational. They're intended to last 10 to 15 years, and as I mentioned, they're accompanied in the planning document by more detailed strategy. I'd like to highlight just a couple of them. Goal 1, which is nurture the reciprocal relationship between people and nature. And this really is what the county sees as county role in park provision, is really that nature-based recreation. When we think about Dakota County parks, we are talking about connecting people to nature, and more active recreation we view as city role, more of a city role. So we're working together for full provision of recreation. The second one I want to highlight is Goal 8, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the presentation, which is locating new parks and greenways close to people or to protect important natural areas. And so we are, in this plan, exploring ideas for new parks and new greenways with some search areas. And then Goal 11, which is seek values-based and mission-driven partnerships. And city partnerships are one of our great partnerships. The greenway system could not happen without city partnership, so we're very interested in expanding and continuing partnerships. The third chapter, which looks at new parks and greenways and open space areas, contains system-wide approaches for land conservation, park and greenway development, new park search areas, and new greenway search corridors. The first conservation focus areas are a framework for prioritizing land protection in ecological corridors, so it has an ecological base. And this was really developed as part of the 2020 Land Conservation Plan and adopted as part of that plan, and we are bringing it into the parks vision. Now I want to turn to Goal 8, which is that locating new parks and greenways close to people or to protect natural areas. And the plan explores 3 strategies for discussion tonight. The first is the new park and greenway search areas. The second is expanding our Greenway Collaborative model, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And the third is county support for community trail loops. So starting with park search areas, we have identified based on drive time to county and regional parks and access to the Mississippi and Minnesota rivers, 3 areas for potential new regional parks. The northeast part of the county, so the West St. Paul, South St. Paul, Inver Grove Heights area, and then continuing along the Mississippi River to highlight that important river. Along the Minnesota River, which includes the Minnesota River northwest quadrant in Burnsville, and then the southwest part of the county also is not well served by county parks. On this map, we have 3 search areas. We've got a lot of dots with potential, either new regional parks or city-county partnership parks. These are really just a starting point for discussion. We're including them in the plan to allow further exploration. And there are quite a few potential city-county park partnerships identified on the map: Terrace Oaks Park, Kelleher Park, Rudy Kramer Nature Preserve. And the nature of that partnership, we don't know at this point. We're just identifying those as potential candidate sites for future discussion and collaboration between city and county if both entities would like. We're also looking at new greenway search corridors. As you are probably aware, the Greenway vision is for regional trails that accommodate recreation and transportation in natural resource corridors that also have water quality elements. On this map, the green lines are existing regional greenway trails. The purple lines are part of the current 2030 vision, and the yellow-orange lines are corridors, are potential new corridors that are recommended in this plan. And there's one that connects the Highline Trail in Eagan to the Minnesota River corridor, Minnesota River Greenway, and that part of it, the connection to the Minnesota River Greenway, would be through Burnsville. Again, these are search corridors. That is an especially tricky segment, but it's something to think about how to make the community more connected and allow more residents to live closer to greenways. We're looking at a service area of about a 15-minute walk for most residents. And then in the south part of the county, we're looking at serving the growing residential areas.
Before you move on
Yes.
from that, because the Greenway is very important for us, and we've been working very hard to see the connection from the south to the north on 13. So I'm sorry, but our Public Works Director is here, and he doesn't know that I'm going to be talking about the Chowan connection with the work that we're doing with Savage. So that's going to be a safe, separated crossing. And my hope is that, Ms. Latham, you and the county understand that we're doing that work. So that'll have a connection to that greenway on the Minnesota River, and that continues to go forward. So is there anything that you want to add to that, Mark?
No, Mayor and Council, I'll just say that the county staff are very involved in the 13 projects, so.
So they are
I'm
involved.
sure
So
that
you're-
information's-
So hopefully that your transportation people are talking to you.
Correct.
Because in our organization, they talk to each other.
I mean, not all the time. Just kidding.
And so, and because parks and natural resources and public works are all, so the thing is, it's very important if we're all moving in the same direction with regard to trails and connections to these greenways, that we need to understand what's happening also with regard to transportation and how all of that's going to work out. Because you need to be a partner in all of this. Right, Commissioner? Anything you say, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we do coordinate closely with transportation, particularly on busy road crossings.
Okay, thank you.
Another idea that we're talking about, that we are exploring in this draft plan, is expanding the Greenway collaboration. And we already collaborate with the city of Burnsville and other cities on Greenway trails, natural resource restoration, and trailheads. But we're thinking about potentially expanding that partnership to allow partnership in more nature-based recreation offerings. So one model, which is that this county could help fund facilities and the cities could construct and maintain them. And this would be in city parks along greenway corridors. And some examples of the types of facilities we're thinking about are fishing piers, walking loops, nature play areas. So staying in that nature-based recreation brand, but providing more opportunities for residents close to where they live. And then the third idea is to create more connected communities and bring community trails to the greenways by supporting local trail loops that connect to greenways or local trail connections. And this is another area of possibility.
to encourage that. I think it's very good. Keller Park is the one that I think a lot can be done there, and I know that Garrett's going to be speaking to that this evening. And also Rudy Kramer, which is a nature preserve. I don't know what we can do there together, but that's interesting to me as to what that can evolve to and keep its identification as a nature preserve. But the greenways is something that's also, and trails, is what our community talks about. All of the research that we do and the surveys and the visioning that we've been doing, more trails is what I keep seeing. People want more trails, whether they're bike trails, whether they're walking trails. And it's good that people want to have that outdoor activity that allows them to take care of their physical and mental health. So I'm grateful for your coming in and sharing the vision for Dakota County's 2050 plan, and then how we can continue to work together. And you know Garrett well, and I would say it's the partnership between the county and us, and continuing communication and sharing ideas is where we can be successful.
Thank you, Mayor and council members, for the positive comments.
Is there anything else? Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in. So I see that you have next steps here.
Oh, yeah, next steps are, the plan is out for a public review for one more week through May 20th, end of day, and we'll be making revisions based on feedback, and we hope to have the plan adopted in July by the Dakota County Board.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing, just broadly, what was some of the, have you visited with other councils?
Yes. In nature-based parks, so many communities have small.
One of the things that, when you take this before the board, the county board, I think you probably have a policy in place in terms of a split when you locate a park in a city and what that would do. Because I know what the split is when we did the Greenway, the Lake Marion Greenway, which part of it comes through Burnsville.
Mayor, council members, we currently don't have a model for county-city partnership parks, so this would be a new territory, so we would be working on the split, and we'd be seeking city feedback, and if these move forward.
So for us, more to come.
Yeah, more to come.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for coming in. Enjoy the rest of the evening. The next item is the park visioning, and Garrett Beck is our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Facilities, and he's presenting, and no action on this item.
Madam Mayor?
Because we're going to learn about, yeah.
Madam Mayor, am I able to speak as a community member, just as a framing topic before we get into this?
Oh, yes, please, you want to speak?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Sorry,
Come.
I'm gonna ask you for more money for you to give me a park, so you'll like it.
Yeah.
Hi. You did sign up. I did. I followed the rules and I'm ready to speak. Okay. My name is Laura Meyer-Schmitz. Good evening, Mayor and council members and amazing city staff. As many of you know, I'm a resident of the North River Hills neighborhood, and tonight you're about to look at the Burnsville Park Visioning Plan, an document that I actually spent a good amount of time looking at myself. I'm very impressed by the work, but I do want to draw your attention to some of the implications that it holds for the future of our neighborhood in particular, especially as it relates to the potential sale of the Sioux Trail Elementary property. According to page 13 of the visioning plan, Tennessee Park is classified as a mini park. While the plan doesn't define what that is in detail, the accepted standard in urban planning typically refers to parks that are less than 2 acres and serve a limited area, primarily for passive use and not designed to meet the full recreational needs of a community. Tennessee fits this description exactly. It's a small green space existing under a huge string of power lines with no playground, no sport courts, no picnic shelter, no restrooms. For decades, our community has relied on the adjacent Sioux Trail Elementary grounds. Its full-size basketball court, baseball fields, open lawn, and above all, its playground to meet the active needs of our families. It is disingenuous to point to Tennessee Park as a legitimate replacement for the functions that would be lost if the entire Sioux Trail property is sold off and developed without preserving a meaningful recreation space. And when I say meaningful, I'm talking 3 to 4 acres of space, something that could upgrade it out of the mini park designation into something that fully serves the community in the way that the space does currently. Page 76 of the Parks Visioning Plan gives us insight into how our residents actually use their parks. And the top 3 responses, not to step on future points for you, but the top 3 responses to the question of how does your family use Burnsville parks were a free playground, a wellness and health activity space, and to attend events. Losing access to the existing playground and sport facilities currently located at the Sioux Trail site would rob hundreds of households of the ability to participate in the most commonly valued park uses in Burnsville. In fact, the very next section of the report lists the top activities people enjoy in parks: eating food, meeting friends, going to the playground, running around, riding a bike, or playing sports. None of those activities are supported in the current configuration of Tennessee Park alone, especially not for families with kids or older adults who require accessible and accommodating spaces. Page 9 of your Parks Visioning Plan includes a clear guidance principle under creating parks for all. It states access and inclusion were prioritized features such as inclusive play areas, improved pathways for mobility, and to accommodate diverse community needs. By integrating universal design principles, the parks promote equity, fostering spaces where everyone, regardless of age or ability, can connect, recreate, and enjoy the outdoors. I wholeheartedly agree with that vision, and I believe our community deserves to see it fulfilled. If the city allows this property to be redeveloped without preserving the recreational infrastructure it has long provided, it will violate the very principles outlined in this plan. The school district may still be seeking a buyer for the Sioux Trail site, but right now the city has been handed an important opportunity. It is a chance to carefully evaluate, a chance to make good on promises of equity, inclusion, and accessibility in park planning, and a chance to preserve neighborhood access to the essential elements of a full-service city park. The City Council has a responsibility to protect our neighborhood's future, and I respectfully urge you to investigate how parts of this property can continue to serve public recreation needs, because anything less would be yet another blow to a fringe community that has already absorbed more than its share of losses. Thank you.
For sharing your thoughts with us. And you so rightly identified that the property belongs to the school district.
Yes, absolutely. Nope, that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting is that it is in a position of being sold, and that the city is in a position of a group of community members who will be losing access to assets that they do deserve an access to, and that the city could take a role to try to acquire parts of it to make a park that would serve us.
So you are asking the city to buy that property from.
Not all of it.
They're not gonna portion it. So we would have to buy all of it. If they would sell it to us.
I can,
There's a lot,
yes,
to unpack here.
exactly.
Laura, there is a lot to unpack because there is, but I appreciate your bringing it. The thing is, our staff hasn't looked at what the park dedication might be for a property that size.
Well, the property very nearby had less than 1 acre out of 30-plus acres was appropriated to a park. And the proposal most recently brought was less than a half of an acre. And I'm saying that the neighborhood will be losing an important asset. And I know that you don't own the asset and you're not the ones taking it away. But the truth is that you haven't had to provide an asset to that area of the city because it was already covered. And that's going to change fundamentally. And I think there is a role for the city to try to find a way to serve that again.
So there is a park nearby, and it's a city park. We did invest considerable funds to put new equipment in there and to really bring that park up to something that could be used for the community.
Are you talking about Cedar Bridge or North River Hills?
North River Hills.
Yes, and that was what,
North River Hills is a 45-minute walk. The previous speaker presented that they're looking for 15-minute walks. It's a 45-minute walk from the houses in my area.
About the neighborhood.
Yes,
trail. So-
yes.
So thank you for sharing it, and then we'll take all of that into consideration as we continue to move forward, because, we're not gonna sit here and debate, because there's so much.
And none of us
But
can make a
yeah.
decision right here, but I came to share with you what your constituents feel and what we're looking for to be served by our city.
Have you discussed with the school about them deeding the property to us? They could always give us the property. That would be amazing to bring that to a school board meeting.
We have community members who attend the school board meetings and engage in conversations with them every single meeting. We have direct communication with the new superintendent and the existing superintendent and members of the board. We are pursuing all of these things, but I'm presenting concerns and that we're at decision points in this neighborhood that you guys can keep in your mind when you're thinking about how you're making decisions about parks. It happens to be in the northeast region of Burnsville, very close to the Minnesota River, where we're already seeing Dakota County is looking at maybe a gap in their park offerings there too. So I am coming as a citizen to share my concerns.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, because you make some good points. The thing is, there's a lot there, because it has to do with land use, it has to do with all of that. And then on our side, we already know how much money we have for new assets and how much then we're gonna have to look at how you maintain and make sure that those assets are sustained.
Certainly, I've read all of those documents.
It has to do with two buckets of money, and so,
Well, I mean, there's always just more money.
no, but the thing is, but I appreciate that you make the thoughts of the community that has experienced and used, the, Sioux Trail playground, throughout all these years. So, yes, so thank you. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it, Laura. Thank you. Okay, great. All right. 79 pages, was it bad, like the 2 weeks of 600 pages at least? Your plan was only 79 pages.
Yeah. All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Tonight, we're going to be talking about park visioning. The Parks Plan was presented in June of 2024. That's the 600-page document that is currently online and available for our community to look at. This is an insert into that. We're also working on rec services and wayfinding, and then future visioning of other parks. So, but the goal was to go ahead and start to vision some of the parks in our system before we make any type of significant investment into those parks. So, as I mentioned, this is phase one. There are 26 of our 76 parks are in this phase, which encompasses a number of our community parks and some of our larger neighborhood parks and/or popular neighborhood parks and/or parks that had a significant number of condition 1 and 2 items that would need to be replaced in the next 5 years of our CIP. So the way a vision plan is used, it gives us a chance to connect with our community to understand their interests and long-term goals for the park system and to look at trends that are sustainable trends. It also guides our management of our existing maintenance needs and helps us to look at potential future improvements in the park system. It helps us to prioritize the work that we need to do and to take care of our park system. And then it allows us to communicate to the community what we're going to be years. That visionary plan is really 10 plus years. It would involve having further engagement with the community and with the neighborhood. It would require, in most cases, coming up with a budget to take care of it, and then a planning and implementation process for any of those types of changes that may happen. Again, in the base design, that allowed us to address the condition 1s and 2s that were identified in that original parks plan. What you see in these base designs is situations where we've recommended that we remove underutilized amenities from our park system. Things that we may have too many of in the system, things that maybe just aren't relevant in 2025 as compared to when they were installed in the 80s and 90s. It's opportunities to make improvements to safety and security. You'll see there may be a playground that was placed in a park without a path to it, and it's snuggled up into woods. Not the most ideal location for a playground in this day and age. So in those situations, staff and consultant work together to find a new location for that playground to make it more accessible, to make it more visible, so people could feel safer using it in a new location. Always looking to improve trail connectivity. As you've heard this evening, our community really does care about our trails, and the opportunities to create loops and connect neighborhoods to our parks was an important part of this process. And then we identified a couple of erosion and maintenance concerns that were applied to a couple of these parks as well. So from a basic design standpoint, this is what you would see in this. This particular one is for Northview Park. What you're seeing here is opportunities for us in the next 1 to 5 years to address some of the changes. So currently, the playground and the basketball court are in left center field of the ball field there. You can't see them, but that's where they currently are. In this base design plan that was proposed is the playground would be moved over to where the trail is. We have a recreational building just to the right field there. So we'd bring the playground, which is in orange, closer to that building, which would be next to the path. It'd be more accessible. And then the basketball court is proposed to be relocated up by the tennis court, which has some synergy with those types of activities and whatnot there. So those, again, are things that are identified in our next 1 to 5 years in our park CIP, opportunities to make some changes to make the park more user-friendly, safe, accessible, and whatnot. So overall, throughout the 26 parks that we did the base design for, these are the types of things that you'll see in the plan. From April 15th, we identified 2 other locations in addition to Alamagnet of parks that were visioned. So Cliff End and Hollows will both have potential pickleball facilities shown in the plan. The 4th location, which is Rose Park, that was not a plan that was not a park that we did the vision plan for, so that's why it's not up here on the screen, but that is part of our feasibility study for the pickleball project. I talked about removing amenities. Black Dog, for example, has 3 ball fields that are all pretty close to each other. The middle one is not programmed because it's not necessarily safe to have 3 fields going at one time with balls being hit into each other. It's an opportunity to remove that, which allows us to save on maintenance and long-term CIP. So again, those are examples of things where we may remove an amenity. Again, Lac Lavon, similar. We used to have a guarded beach, so.
Go back to Black Hawk.
To Black Hawk.
See about that because they can't schedule anything on those 3 parts. They can only use 2.
Correct, yep.
Those ball fields.
Yep, they're definitely involved.
That we're gonna take it away.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yep, and our staff, Scott Heitkamp, does the field scheduling, and we're very familiar with the use there and work with them on that, yes. And then addressing maintenance issues, Cliff End has some of our most popular shelters that are reserved pretty much nonstop throughout the summer. Our trash truck will drive up to those shelters, and then there won't be an opportunity for it to turn around, so it'll go in the grass, create mud, dirt, those types of things. So that's a maintenance opportunity to add some additional hardscape there to prevent that erosion and mess in that area. And Colonial had a planting and retaining wall area that we're removing that just is not needed at this point.
Jared, I went out to Crystal Lake because they have some of our highly used shelters as well.
Yes.
but somehow we have a way to access all of the trash around there.
We do.
We didn't do that at Cliff Pen when we put in those 2 shelters.
Correct.
Because we have more shelters over at Crystal Lake.
Correct. Yeah, Madam Mayor, the way the shelters are laid out at Crystal, there's a path that connects all of them, and the truck can come in and loop through. Unfortunately, because of the way that Cliff End was laid out, they didn't put in a path to pass through on the backside. So that's what we're going to look at to provide a similar type situation.
Yeah, because Lac Laban, also across the street, the big park.
Yes.
With the largest shelter that we have, that families have a lot of picnics. Now, you can get a truck up to that one
Correct. Yep.
to remove all of the waste.
Correct. Yep.
So we did it for those, but not that.
Yep. And that's the great. Out in the middle of, without accessibility path to them and whatnot, often. To get to it, because there isn't really a good place to move it to. And then Pahasapa, there's an opportunity to connect a trail through the park, which creates some opportunities for looping and walking paths and things like that. And had some good engagement with the Pahasapa neighborhood. They were really appreciative of that change to their park. And then from the visionary concepts, again, we get different feedback from the community on a regular basis on things that are currently not in our park system that people might like to see in the future. So that's an opportunity to try to figure out how some of those things might fit into our park system down the road. We also have our own program activities and things like that that we're aware of. I mentioned the walking paths and accessibility. Again, there's a lot of information that shows that anytime you have loop opportunities in parks, that it encourages people to get out and use them. And so in the vision plan, you'll really see that we were intentional about creating a loop path in just about every one of the parks if it did not exist. And then site and environmental considerations was another thing. So an example of that last topic of the site and environmental situation, this here is North River Hills. Currently, as you come into North River Hills from the neighborhood, that very first large green soccer field is actually not there. That's a large parking lot. And then all of our soccer fields are off to the right. So in this vision plan, if we were ever to redo North River Hills in the future, and we were looking at removing that parking lot and redoing it, there may be an opportunity to put one of the soccer fields on one side of the parking lot, and then as people are coming in, they can park closer and more directly be affiliated with the different type of recreational activity that they're there for in the park. So there's a number of those types of things throughout the vision plan as well.
Will we have the parking capacity with putting in that soccer field and taking out the parking on that side?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, so in this particular situation, their design would be, they would remove a couple of the soccer fields from one side and move the parking lot over there to the right capacity and then put a soccer field in place of where the parking lot was. So it would be more of moving things around than taking spaces.
The same parking spaces?
Yeah, that would be the goal of any type. Again, as a vision plan, it's 10 plus years down the road. There'd be lots of detailed planning that would need to take place and things like that. But yeah, in general, the concept wouldn't be to change the number of fields. It would just be to relocate where the parking lot is in this particular design. From a next step standpoint, again, staff have been working to plug in our condition 1 and 2s and to be taking care of them and to make sure they are aligned in our CIP over the next 5 years. And so we're using this vision plan as a guide on how we're prioritizing them and taking care of them. And then, as I mentioned, in the future, if we're looking at a park that really needs to be completely redone based on the age of the amenities and the conditions, it'll be an opportunity to take a look at what the vision plan shows and to maybe do some more detailed master planning at that time. Questions? Comments?
Questions? Comments?
I wanted to ask, well, overall, I like the plan. Is this money to execute on these, like, base plans or visionary concepts, whatever we decide, is that coming from the maintenance bucket or the new money bucket?
Councilmember Keeley, so the way we worked with the community and the consultant was if it was a base plan, ideally that would be something that would be covered in our current park CIP, our maintenance version.
Right.
So there, you have a playground, you're planning to replace it. This is more about moving it to a different location. It's not about doing anything significantly different. So that money is kind of already accounted for. The vision plan situations, you're looking at, that's in most cases new money. It's a new amenity. You're making significant changes that would not be part of it.
So when I say we say new money, we have a fund that can't be used for maintenance, but can be used for new added assets or amenities within a park.
That is correct.
And of these visions, do we have any idea what the total cost is? I mean, of the parks that we have in what we might think of as phase one, if we decide to do it, any estimate of what the cost of the vision concept fulfillment would be?
Councilmember Keeley, short answer is no. That was not part of this initial phase, was really to focus on the next 5 years in detail. And then the vision plan, they did not we did not invest as part of the scope to go in and actually do that type of detailed work, knowing that
and at this stage, it wouldn't make sense. I was just curious.
Yep.
But you hit on something that is exactly what I wanted to follow up with, really focusing on the next 5 years. I have some questions as to why Cliff Fen can't have pickleball courts somewhere else, not where you've got it, but over on the western side, adjusting the existing parking lot and maybe making some new parking lot in between the volleyball and that. Semantics, we can talk about that later. Where in this plan do we talk about the additional amenities that the newer members of our community are looking for? And I'll specifically bring back the idea that we talked about many years ago, seems like many years ago, but just a couple of years ago, like a futsal concept, a facility in one of our parks. I was kind of hoping that idea, and maybe there's another idea that we talked about back then, would be incorporated in, some of these plans as like, here's an ideal spot that we might consider putting one of those if you chose to fund it. This would be one of the options, or maybe it's 2 or 3 different parks would be an option. So we could see where those things could go. I know it came up in earnest when Waste Management gave us $1.9 million into that new amenity fund. And now some years have gone by. We know things they don't get cheaper as time goes on. I want to see where those are going to end up and how they're going to be integrated into these plans. Because I think the need is there, the community size that plays that style of soccer, and soccer in general, because it's really a subset of soccer, right? It's important. Much like tennis and basketball were important to this community 50 years ago when a lot of these parks were built, soccer and futsal specifically is important today.
Councilmember Keeley, yes. What we try to do with the consultant is if there were things that we've heard some interest in, either in, as they were doing engagement in the parks plan, or if it's been stakeholders that have mentioned something. We tried to incorporate that into the vision plan somewhere if it was appropriate. Three things jump out to me as I mentioned a dirt bike trail. We've heard that periodically over the years. So one of our parks has, in the vision plan, a dirt bike trail. The futsal concept has been discussed. So Kelleher Park has a futsal location there in that park. There's one other one that a turf field. We don't have a turf field in our community. So Black Dog, yeah, we have our football field down there. They have in the vision plan opportunity to do a turf field and then still have a ball field there. So those are in the vision plans. Those are where the new things could be identified if they were called out.
Thank you. I see it, number 3, pardon me, Madam Mayor, the Kelleher Park. I saw basketball, and I didn't catch the / futsal court.
Yeah.
So was it an either or a dual use?
Those can be combo ones where they've got basketball standards on each side and then the futsal in the middle. So it could be a multi-purpose type facility. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Councilmember Key, I always think about when you brought that up for the futsal. Because I looked at Colonial Park, and number 8 is an open flex lawn. That would be also ideal for futsal, right? Because it's an open.
Madam Mayor, currently our athletic association, what we try to do is called flex lawns. Like that way it can be used for lacrosse or soccer or whatever. We try not to pigeonhole it into a specific situation.
So it can be identified also when people want to have a futsal. That's one of those, why it's called flex.
Yeah, I mean, a futsal facility would be more like a tennis court, hardscape, fencing, surface. So we probably, and I don't think it would be appropriate to put it out in Colonial in the middle of that field if we were using that. It would have to be kind of where you'd put a tennis court type situation.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Just, is there ever going to be a community pool at one of these proposals?
No.
It's at the cost for only 3 or less money.
Crystal Lake is a very nice swimming area.
I continually see these posts of all the cities around the Twin Cities with these great water parks in their city, and I think, we're gonna continue to get more and more requests and pressure to do something like that one day, or we're just gonna continue to export everybody to those other cities, which is what I did with my kids.
That's what
We
I
went to
did.
Apple Valley.
Yeah.
And used their public water park. Now, of course, we have a splash pad now, which is great. The Line splash pad is actually a blast. We have Nicollet Commons, a little different experience.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the whole pool idea is, I don't think it's gone for good. I think it's gonna keep coming up by our residents.
Well,
Same thing with the community
it's
center.
all
Yeah.
about the money and I mean, one of the things is that how many months
Again,
out of
with
the
the
year?
buckets of money.
And then the
Yeah.
expense of it.
No, I was gonna follow up by saying Dakota County is a great partner.
Yeah.
And,
We're good, we're not.
and, county pool located in Burnsville would bring a lot of people to Burnsville. And they
They're
can
looking for.
That's a good idea.
spend money in our businesses.
about it.
Yeah, we should tell Miss Linda, they're looking at.
You're listening over there, right?
Yeah. The next one for Burnsville is a county pool. Yeah.
How many lakes are in Burnsville?
It could be like a natural pool without the chlorine.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna bring us back and have Garrett. So before we go to winter lighting, we are going to take a 5-minute
Oh, can I
recess
ask
for
Garrett?
technical difficulties.
All right.
Okay, we are back. And we are going to complete the parks visioning. And I believe there were some comments that council members wanted to share.
Vince was first up.
Yeah. Vince, I think you're first.
I just wanted a quick touch on the black dog. I know we're not gonna go through park by park here and say what we like and don't like, but, I just wanted to call attention to the visionary concept, because I very much like it. We were talking about the turf. I think that's a great idea. Converting that center field over to dedicated soccer, also a great idea, especially if we can get turf on that. But then incorporating some type of additional lighting over the soccer. I've heard from a few people about a desire to have lit soccer fields in Burnsville. And since we've already got the existing lighting over Mount Larson Field, it seems like it would be an easy fit to get our soccer field if and when, that development ever were to materialize in the future. So that's all I wanted to.
We have the visionary concept, which is, a step further in amenities and that type of thing. And I know one of the reasons why we did a kind of a pause so that we could do this in depth and really look at our ones and twos, which is like our most drastic needs. My concern and what I want to make sure is that at least on the base concept now, we are in a position that we can cover that, we can fund that. We can have that in the budget to take care of that. Or are we still needing to stretch a little bit to be able to do even our base concept for our parks? I know we have a lot of parks. We have a lot of amenities. This is a ton of upkeep. And I know the ones and twos are the big concern.
Yeah. It's a great question. As I mentioned at the start of this presentation, these parks chosen were our community parks, some of our most popular parks. The things in the base plan we were very intentional about choosing situations that we felt our existing park CIP couldn't take care of, and that it was something that we could have in the plan for the next 5 years. Without putting a significant strain on our CIP budget and whatnot. So, again, there's 50 other parks, but these are priority ones that we would want to do, and we can do with existing funding to take care of it. Yes.
Okay, that is really good news. We're happy about that. I know that is something that staff worked very hard to get us to that point, and that this was careful and thoughtful on doing that. So I really appreciate that. And I like how you have the base concept, which is our needs are met, we're replacing like with like and getting on our upkeep. But that we also have additional options that we can look at. So I thank you very much for this. I appreciate it.
What I like is because from the parks plan, that huge document that identified the ones and twos, 3, 4s, and 5s, that allows to inform the capital plan, which also resulted in looking at this vision plan for those parks that, the 26 parks that we need to address. And so, and I appreciate all the work that has been done with all of the different plans, because it helps inform our capital improvement plan, and it helps make sure that we look at that budget from a 5-year window. And then there's also that 10-year window. So, but I know that that kind of planning that we do, Jenny, helps with the rating agencies when they look at how we take care of our assets and how we're going to continue to maintain those assets through the full faith and promise of the community.
Correct, and it also speaks to your financial management plans and the strong financial management, and we do get a strong rating in that area, so.
Yeah. So I appreciate all the hard work staff did last year in going through all of these different plans. Correct me if I'm right, there are 11 plans that you all worked on last year that helps us to inform our financial management, capital improvement, and budget.
Yeah.
Because when I looked at that, all those plans, it's like, that was a lot of work.
Yeah, Mayor, this is, obviously, as Garrett mentioned in his presentation, a continuation of the parks plan to help inform, as Garrett said in his presentation, the July presentation of our the CIP to the council, where you'll see us transition to a project-based budgeting for parks maintenance projects. And this is really informing how those projects get coordinated, and that there's a strategic approach to a systems-wide for these parks to inform that 5-year CIP when you see it in July.
And what I want our residents to know is that we're very intentional about all of this. And it's because of all of the work you all have done with all of those studies in looking at everything throughout the city. And parks is huge, 76 parks. That's a whole lot of assets, and I think if I recall from the plan, is it $76 million is the amount of assets?
Madam Mayor, it's right around 73, 74, yeah, very close, yep.
Okay, trying to keep all of that in my head, but I'm getting,
Yes, yep,
but I'm close, always very close.
yeah, and rising.
77 currently.
77 now.
Did you add one of those little pockets? Mark?
Mayor, Council, so we've really operationalized that data on the public works side that's been gathered, and so our team's been refining stuff, working through stuff, and updating information as it goes. So, yeah, the number of assets is, city assets is looking right now 4,510 with a value of just over 77 million.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Is there anything else from Garrett? Any questions? We're moving on. Thank you, Garrett. Okay, and then now, we're going to winter lighting and our Public Works Director, Mark Ray. The floor is yours.
Sounds good, Mayor. Interesting. No, that camera's out, so. Just want to come, yeah, right, and awkwardly stand next to all of you. In November of 2022, council directed staff to evaluate future improvements for the kind of winter lighting refresh. This past winter was really programmed just like the previous years, except we did do the uplighting pilot at Civic Center and Nicollet. We had a work session back in October 2024. Council directed staff on some refresh options and obtained cost estimates. We're obviously looking at preserving or honoring the legacies we talked about along Burnsville Parkway, Eagle Ridge, as well as East Travelers Trail, and then exploring some other upgrades as well. So the council direction we got from the meeting was to preserve the snowflake inventory through a slight reduction of the program streetlights that have them hanging off of it. Look at expanding the uplighting based on feedback from the council, and then look at doing street lights wrapped with garland along Nicollet to really try to create some daytime holiday feel along that corridor, since it's so visual, especially as you get more to the downtown area. And there's businesses there that people are walking, and kind of, it's not just a driving environment, but also a walking environment. As well as looking at expanding potential canopy wrapped lighting. I'll touch on that a little bit later, as well as tree trunks, wrapping the pergola at Nicollet Commons, and then long-term working with the foundation as well as the chamber to potentially do some more interactive lighting displays in the park. So we've met with the community foundation, with leadership, we've talked with the council, worked with contractors, and all of that has really come together to inform the path forward. Just to provide some context for our 2024 season, the total cost was about $100,000, which it was significantly over budget. There was a winter wind event in January or in December that really caused about $10,000 in repairs needed, predominantly to the lighting in the trees, as well as our snowflakes have lived a good life, and some of them are struggling. So there was some significant repairs needed this past winter as well. Looking at the plan going forward, so I want to stress this is kind of the vision based on this is really what we talked about last October in a visual display here. So the magenta snowflakes you see, those are just the single snowflakes on the light pole, exactly as it's been before. All those yellow dots are trees that have canopy lighting exactly as you've seen before. Along Nicollet there on the south end, the little orange circle, that's the oak tree at entrance. Again, that will have a tree trunk wrap on it. It'll go up to 20 feet. The one we have now goes a little bit higher. The two little cyan circles are for the uplighting on either side of Nicollet or Civic Center Drive there. And then the cyan snowflakes along Nicollet and 126 are going to be the street lights that are wrapped in garland and have the snowflakes as well. So the big difference here from from the previous kind of this vision is what you would have seen is more magenta along Nicollet 126 and the yellow dots for canopy lighting. So that's the change there. And then I will touch on Nicollet Commons Park in a bit. So again, this is the current view of the oak tree. The new wrap will have M5 mini lights, so it's more of a tree trunk type wrap. You see they will go up 20 feet up the tree, which is a little bit shorter than what you see now. Looking at the uplighting, this is a photo that I took of the current uplighting. We've gotten a mix of feedback on this. The general feeling is it kind of blends in with the surroundings, especially when it's contrasted with the very well lit oak tree right next to it. So we'll look at using red and blue lighting on the uplighting on either side of the medians moving forward. Any questions or discussion on the uplighting portion?
I think what you've done in terms of putting color on it gives it some distinction from the wrap tree that takes your eye to it right away. So with different colors, that's going to differentiate it.
Absolutely, Mayor. I do want to make a quick note, the uplighting is considered a bid alternate because we're trying to, again, maintain our current budget amount for this. However, it is a very small dollar value, but that is considered a bid alternate in this next cycle. M5 mini lights, so again, what you see here is what will be on Burnsville Parkway, Eagle Ridge, and East Travelers Trail. So again, single snowflake on the light poles, canopy wraps on the trees. Along Nicollet and then 126, here's the garland wrapped light poles. It will not have a ribbon there because there will be a snowflake along that entire corridor there. Focusing in on Nicollet Commons Park, we'd originally looked at doing canopy wraps there. That is the green and let's call it purple pinkish blobs you see. However, the cost we got back was $15,000 plus only for that work in the commons. So unfortunately, we had to scale that back to try to bring it in within the budget. But you'll see the pergolas, the stage is still wrapped. The light spacing there will be 6 inches between each wrap strand as it goes around, so it'll be intense. The red star is the Christmas tree light, and then all those little blue dots are all the trees, some with multiple trunks, that will have tree trunk wraps up to a height of 8 feet. So really, as you stand there, that 8 feet below is going to glow through there, and then really the tree will stand out. I do want to note for the trunks behind the stage, we're going to do some a variety of colors. So they won't just be white. What I'm going to do is use the Christmas tree colors, and I'm going to list them all and then divide it up evenly between the tree trunks. So looks like green, yellow, maybe some blue and red, and I'll just count them and we'll figure it out. So be like, yeah, each trunk will be one standard color. So One of the comments we got back in October was we want to look at doing C9 LED bulbs. I literally brought a C9 bulb in, compared it to our tree, and our tree is already that. So no changes to the giant 30-foot tree. Here's a view of what the tree trunk wraps will look like. Again, it'll be 6 inches between each light strand going around. It's a little bit different light. Sits flusher to the tree, so it really projects light straight out from the tree, as compared to our longer bulbs, where if they're turned or angled, it can be a little different. This is the pergola. Obviously, ours will look different. This will be wrapped with the same lights that we use for all of our tree canopies along Burnsville Parkway. Again, unfortunately, we're not able to do the canopy wraps in the commons due to cost. Sponsored displays, so I've been having a lot of conversations with the foundation. The intent is to do this refreshed look, see how that goes, feel out the space, and use that to inform ongoing conversations with the foundation and the chamber about what sponsored displays might look like moving forward, as well as potential other community events in that space, kind of with that new vibe. So with that, working on finalizing specifications. We'll get quotes here in July. It'll come back before the council in August for award, and then set it up October, November, and then winter is coming. As it's like 90 degrees outside. With that, are there any questions?
Any questions? Yeah.
Just a compliment. I think this is really great work. Appreciate it, Mark, the feedback that we gave along the way and the presentation that started last year. This is, I think, a really nice upgrade, especially to Nicola Commons Park. When the light switch is thrown, it will be anticlimactic, where it was just kind of like, oh, there's one over there, and there's one over there.
Councilmember Keating, everybody amplify your voice, because that's part of the technical issue.
I know I'm such a soft speaker. I really have to elevate it.
You are barely ever.
Did you hear that, honey? Did you hear that? He asked me to speak up. No, it's really great work. I just think it's going to be a nice upgrade for Nicola Commons Park and the Boulevard. And we're preserving, I think, what is already something that's really great looking. We get compliments every season. People are now saying, why can't you just leave those lights up year round? It looks so nice.
They've been saying that for a while.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a long time. But on Burnsville Parkway and streets in the part of the city to have the canopies still lit up the way you noted they're going to maintain. This is just making a real improvement, I think, where we needed to figure out a better way to execute it in the park.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councilmember Keeley. I think it's really the balance of honoring the legacy of Burnsville Parkway and kind of those corridors, and really doing a refresh and trying to kind of create some placemaking there for supporting our local businesses.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Can we light up all the detour signs to help people get to our businesses right now?
Right now? No.
We got a lot of lights that are just sitting around waiting for winter. Maybe we can use them to help make these detour signs easier to see and read so they can find the businesses they're trying to
Park
get
a
to.
snowflake on
We
it?
would definitely encourage people to turn their headlights on in the winter or the evening.
Yeah. Thank you, good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah. Okay. And now, we have the local affordable housing aid, and presenting is our Deputy Community Development Director, Travis Bisterdahl.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you. I'd like to think you're saving best for the last tonight, perhaps?
Wow.
Sorry.
Across the bow.
Sorry. So the
Hear that, Garrett?
Come to the table, Beth.
Yes, ma'am.
And credit where credit's due. All of the work on LAHA, Beth has been kind of my thought partner there and helped kind of craft our LAHA strategy thus far, as well as Director Thompson. So this is not just my ideas. This is a result of months of thought and work around our local affordable housing aid new funding source. So the purpose of tonight's presentation is to discuss how we might want to use local affordable housing aid, or LAHA dollars, going forward. But it's important to talk about all of the housing programming that the city supports, and we have some suggestions on how we might want to use those dollars differently as well. So I'm going to cover a couple different topics here, and I'll try to be brief. Just for context and background, as you're aware, the local affordable housing aid or LAHA dollars are funded through a new 0.25% sales tax. They must be used to develop and preserve affordable housing. In 2024, we received $405,000. We've already got those dollars in our coffers, and we anticipate receiving another $800,000 this year. Those funds need to be committed by the end of the third year after we receive them and spent by the end of the fourth year. And they need to be prioritized for residents in Burnsville that are at the 80% AMI level or lower. And an important clarification from what we discussed back in the October work session is they can't be used to supplant any existing programming that we already have in place. What we heard from council back in October was that we would retain and manage our own funds in-house, and we would invest further in existing programming, the programs that we've already stood up, and to explore a radon mitigation program. And I'm going to try to hit upon all of those in the presentation. I also want to talk about those other programs as well. So CDBG and the HUD funds that we are responsible for, the existing programs that we fund through the EDA and some suggestions for improvement that staff have pulled together, how we might want to use our LAHA funds in 2025 later this year, and then future programs that we might want to consider, or the council might want to consider for 2026. And we'll be looking for feedback from you all tonight on some of those ideas. So just to summarize, community development block grant dollars are federal dollars that we receive from HUD that we have purposed or we have set aside to support rehabilitation loans for existing households. We currently fund $233,000 of those loans in $15,000 to $35,000 increments. And those are administered through the Burnsville CDA. Historically, we've used those dollars to support the Burnsville Youth Collaborative, but because of some reporting requirements, the school district has asked to no longer utilize those funds. They're no longer interested in using CDBG. Rather, they'll use other dollars to support that programming going forward. And one of the action items tonight is the Dakota County CDA. Every 3 years, they ask for a deferral to basically defer our CDBG funds over to the county to support those rehabilitation loans. And they're looking for feedback from the council tonight as to whether or not we want to continue with that deferral. We explored the idea of taking CDBG into in-house and administering those dollars ourselves, but as someone that had worked in that programming for the city of St. Paul previously, I can attest to it being administratively very burdensome, and that we have a great partner with the CDA to administer those dollars now. In addition, the future of CDBG is uncertain, so it doesn't make sense for us to stand up our own program, staff it in-house, build it up, only to have those funds perhaps not be available in future years. In addition, decoupling from the CDA and some of the programmatic details behind the scenes around those dollars would also be somewhat challenging. So for those kind of 3 reasons, we're recommending that we continue with the deferral and continue to support the existing funding allocation for CDBG going forward. And that's the first policy question I have for the council, of which there are 4. So if you'd like, I can go through all 4 questions.
Can I answer this for you now?
Please.
Stay with the CDA administrator.
With what I heard about the administration of this, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
We stay with the county on that one.
And
Yes.
Vince?
Yes.
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 Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
See,
Excellent.
just moving it along.
I appreciate that, Madam Mayor. So the next set of programming that I want to discuss are the existing home improvement loans. These are funded through EDA funds, where they support. It provides a similar service to the community as the CDBG loans, except for folks at the 80 to 120% AMI level. That's currently funded with $75,000 in 2025 from the EDA. providing $20,000 to $50,000 loans. And this program currently supports about 2 to 4 projects annually. So that's the first of the existing housing programs that the city directly supports. The second are senior deferred loans, which are somewhat similar, except they're for low-income seniors, folks at 65 years of age or older, at the 0 to 100% AMI level. And we currently fund that programming at $25,000 from the EDA. Those are smaller loans, 10 to 15K, and we fund about 2 to 4 of those projects annually. After thinking about these loans and the programming and consulting with our vendor that services these loans, we're suggesting that the council consider increasing the flexibility of how we use those dollars by reducing the minimum loan amount to $5,000 versus 10 or 15. 10. We're also suggesting, and this is based on a recommendation from our sustainability coordinator, that we require energy audits for both of these types of loans. For folks that are at the 80% AMI level or less, they're already covered. The utility already pays for them. But for some of those other folks at the 80 to perhaps 100% AMI or 120% AMI level, we would require that that be part of their project and they roll those costs into their loan. And then we would also suggest that we continue to contract with CEE for administration of this program, which they're a great partner in this space and they do a great job. So we would continue with the contract with CEE, which has since expired and we need to renew it. So the second question I have for the council tonight is, does the council support these small amendments and then continuing to contract with CEE?
Yes? Okay, all right. Dan?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. You got unanimous there.
5.
Okay,
Great,
moving along.
thank you.
All is good.
So now we're kind of dabbling in how we might want to use our LAHA dollars going forward based on the direction that we received last year. What we're suggesting is we fund, rather than just $75,000, we fund $300,000 annually towards homeowner rehab loans and basically mirror the existing EDA program except at a lower dollar amount. We would prioritize those 0 to 80% AMI households at the lower $5,000 to $50,000 loan level, require those energy audits, and we feel we could, and our vendor also supports that we could fund 6 to 12 projects, more projects annually with that $300,000 infusion of new LAHA dollars.
So you're talking about 300,000 of LAHA or 300,000 total, including EDA and LAHA together?
$300,000 of LAHA only.
Of LAHA.
And we would continue to fund the 75.
Because I know we're already doing this, we're on that, all right?
Yes. And then similarly, we would fund another $100,000 towards the senior deferred loans. So again, mirroring the existing programming, and we could support 5 to 10 additional projects there with that additional 100,000. And like I mentioned, we've discussed this with our loan servicer, and they feel confident that there's enough demand out there that we could complete that many projects. And I should have mentioned this. I also envision us having a regular conversation of how we might administer LAHA dollars, and every year kind of a status report of what's working, what's not, and kind of flex on where we want to put those dollars in subsequent years, depending on how successful we are getting them out into the community.
The nice thing about this is that it is a loan, so that each time there's payment, it sustains the amount of money in the LAHA fund. Even
Correct.
though we're spending it, but because of what we're doing, we're going to have a pool
Madam Mayor,
to
council members.
continue the work.
Correct. It's my understanding how we initially set up those two initial programs, the home rehab program and the senior deferred program, was to create that revolving loan fund, but because they were funded at such small amounts, we're not accruing much interest to reinvest. According to our loan servicer, we're currently accruing about $4,000 per year, which is not nearly enough to even do a project a year. With this new infusion of LAHA dollars, perhaps we'll be able to reprogram and take advantage of the interest that's accruing and get those dollars back out into the community again.
That's how I see it.
And some horsepower behind what we already got.
Correct. We were also asked by the council to consider a radon mitigation program, and generally speaking, the rationale here is that administration of setting up a radon mitigation program, conducting the monitoring that's required in a homeowner's home, and then actually putting in the project into that home, the administrative expenses pretty much match the project costs. You can do this type of work for about $2,500 per project. Our current loan servicer, we explored the idea with them, and they are not interested in creating a standalone project. We also had a conversation with Dakota County CDA about creating a standalone project. They're not interested as well. And in addition, if we decrease the loan amounts for our existing offerings, we could roll a radon mitigation project easily into their other loan as part of their overall project. So we don't feel like it's a standalone project is really worth the effort. In addition, we would make an effort and we would ask our service provider to market radon mitigation as part of the offerings that we advertise for our existing programming.
We get to the goal, which is offering it, but it's in a different format. Instead of a standalone, it's rolled into the
Conjunction with
program.
other projects.
Madam Mayor, council members, yeah.
Most of this
that's-
radon testing actually happens when people sell their homes. And it's
Yeah.
part of the purchase agreement. Some, government-backed home loans require me to.
Well, a lot of
testing
you're
applications.
gonna see in a lot of real estate transactions that the buyer is always is looking for a radon check before they even buy the house.
Correct. Okay, so that brings me to my third policy question is, does the council support this allocation of LAHA dollars and partnering with CEE for the program administration as staff is recommending?
Vince? Okay, that was a yes.
That was
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yes. The microphone way over there, by the way.
Yeah.
These are dead, is that?
He's way over there, he's pointing at that.
Oh,
Okay.
I support the senior program and the other loan program.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely on those two.
Okay. All right. Staff has it? Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
So the last portion of the conversation here tonight is to talk about what else we might want to do with those LAHA dollars. And these are some kind of preliminary ideas that we've sketched out and explored that we feel like there's a possibility we could create a program around these ideas, and we're looking for feedback from the council on your opinions, and then we would bring back those ideas in a more fleshed out version perhaps later this fall for implementation in 2026. So the first idea is to create our own down payment assistance loan program for low-income families, Burnsville families. These are folks that are currently living in Burnsville apartments that want to further invest and put down roots in Burnsville and make the leap from a renter to their first home. So these would be first-time home buyer type down payment assistance loans. These would be administered by our existing loan servicer, CEE. They already do this type of work for other municipalities across the metro. And what we're suggesting is perhaps we want to fund as much as 50% of those home buyers' down payment with a $40,000 cap. So that's the first idea. The second idea we're calling Productive Properties. This would be a program where we partner with a nonprofit like Habitat for Humanity, or NeighborWorks is another nonprofit that does this type of work, acquires dilapidated, vacant residential properties, and then rehabilitate those and reoccupy them with a lower income family. Those with a nonprofit partner to be identified, and we would need to go out to the community with a solicitation to find a partner that wants to do that work. And then we would sell the home for acquisition costs, probably acquisition costs only, and deed restricted for a period of time. So that family is required to stay in that home for a period of time, depending on direction from council.
So we wouldn't be doing the rehab. Those nonprofit we're working with would be the one that would manage that whole process.
Madam
They'll
Mayor,
have to have humanity, they'll design, they'll build, they find the customer, they actually even originate the mortgages for everything, so it's, once they have it, we're hands off them.
Madam Mayor,
But
Councilmember
they have a
Gustafson.
criteria that they sell to as well, so.
That's the idea, is we would fund it, and this nonprofit partner would essentially administer the program for us.
You get twofold, you get to get rid of a dilapidated house and you're actually upgrading a neighborhood that needs it, so.
And you put the property back on the tax rolls.
It's, you know, much higher value. I can
How
tell
do you
that.
pick who gets the property?
What's that?
How do you pick who gets to buy the property?
Well, if we're working with the nonprofits, I'm sure they can figure it out. We're just.
Well, I'm
we're
sure
working
they
with the
can, but
nonprofits.
I'm asking because if it's our program, I would like to know what it is.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember, that's something that we would ask, to Councilmember Gustafson's point, we would ask the nonprofit to determine how they identify who receives the property. And I also want to just add, the other benefit is that we were providing a home for a family that is at lower affordability levels.
Yeah, and this is, you said from the beginning, it's a Burnsville family that wants to move into a,
That was the down payment
Madam Mayor,
assistance.
that was the down payment
Ownership.
assistance program, but that's something that we could incorporate into this productive properties idea as well.
okay, Jeff?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, yes, I mean, as Travis said at the beginning, these are kind of preliminary program ideas that we would need to fully flesh out what those criteria would be and bring those back to the council for, should we get direction to proceed forward with further development of these, come back with those kind of further fleshed out criteria. Obviously, there's an option of the nonprofit providing a model for how the selection of the buyer would be. We could also, explore any sort of open market solicitation for.
So your question will be answered then, Sharon.
Okay, so I will let you know what my other questions will be so that when you present this to us, if you do, you have that in there. Acquire, how are we going to acquire the property?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember, again, that would be something that we would probably rely on the vendor to help us craft and shape. I imagine all of this would be done on a voluntary basis. There's no requirement that anybody has to participate in it, but we, in Neighborhood Services, has identified, I think 6 or 7 vacant single-family homes that have been kind of in a dilapidated state for a period of time, and nothing's changing, nothing's happening. So the first step would be to reach out to that property owner and basically say, are you interested in selling the property to this program?
Okay, so it would be a voluntary, we're not looking at an adverse possession.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember, 100%, that is not the intention of this. This would be voluntary only. And
Okay.
it is possible that we would roll out this program and we'd have no takers.
Well, that is a question because, I mean, they haven't sold until now. So when you present this, because I'm sure everyone will just love it, I would be interested in the dollar amount that we would be putting to that instead of putting a dollar amount to the other programs, which frankly interests me a lot more. Like, I think those funds would be better served in the helping people with their down payment, and also the loans on home improvement. Like, to me, like, that's a better use of funds than X amount to possibly acquire these homes. But, that's, I fundamentally don't like the idea that we would purchase homes. I don't like that idea. I don't think cities should be buying businesses. We shouldn't be buying homes. We're not real estate developers. I understand that we would be partnering with another nonprofit, but it's still our deal. We're partnering with them, but it's still our deal. So we would be a developer, and I don't think that's a role of what government should be doing. And I think those funds could be put to use immediately on those other programs, because as you said, there is a waiting list for those. And even if we put that other money in there, there's still gonna be a waiting list. So I'd like to see it used that way.
I would say I have a different opinion on that.
I would not have guessed that.
Well, I
No, you have expressed
I
that
think the
this is
homes that
something
are
you would
falling
like.
down, which we have, that are
Yes.
not good for the neighborhoods, especially the neighbors. If
I
we can, if we
get
can
that.
help alleviate that, it helps the neighborhood come up in value, and it just helps the entire neighborhood all
I
together.
think a condemnation
Yeah.
process is a better,
Now you're just talking into a whole different thing here.
well,
Now we're getting into eminent domain and all kinds of different things.
which I get, but like, if
But if we
properties
talk-
are
but if
getting
we
to
talk
where
to the owner
they're
and they're willing to sell
dangerous.
it, because right now I don't think they can find buyers for what they have.
They have the money to pay the taxes, but not to do anything else with it.
They haven't lived there for 7 to 10 years, some of these people. Just been
Okay,
paid.
so.
But I do agree that the home rehab and all that, that's really important as well.
Yeah.
All these programs are actually really important, we just gotta figure out how do we make them work. And we're fortunate with the LAHA money, because the way the state set it up, we have to use it to help low-income people get into housing or keep their housing. And that's what it's meant to do. And working with these nonprofits on these homes that we may have to, they'll tear down, not us, that they will have to be torn down. They're gonna put in affordable housing for people to move into that. So it enhances the neighborhood and it gives low-income housing to people that need it. And that's why I have a different opinion on what he's saying. And by the way, we are in the real estate business. We buy and sell land. We build buildings. We do a lot of that stuff. And that's
For
what they-
us,
For us, but.
for us.
Yeah.
We don't do
I'm
it
not
for
designing,
other
we're not
people.
designing on us, Carol.
Okay.
We're giving
So
it to
let me-
someone that does do that.
I'm going to go
But we
to.
are, we're just
Yeah, okay.
subcontracting.
Okay.
We're
We're
just
literally
getting them the land.
subcontracting.
Okay, I'm going to move on. So, Councilmember Keely.
And just I share the philosophy that this isn't a business that we should be in, but these funds are actually not coming from our taxpayers. This is coming from the metro area, and there's strings attached to how we can use it. So
Yeah.
this is an idea, and I appreciate the concept, and I think partnering with a professional in that business. My only reason for having some appeal of this is I put myself in the position of a homeowner.
And a neighbor.
Your solution could very well be the right one too. That's on a street and one of these homes is there.
Yeah.
And it's overgrown and it's falling apart and the paint is chipping and the chunks of the roof are flying off. And everybody is wondering like what's going on and they're helpless. That neighborhood and those property owners can't do anything about that bad property owner's bad situation. And so
Yeah.
they're coming, they turn to the city like, what can you do to help? Maybe there's a private organization that can come in and help. I don't know of one, but if we can't find one, great. But typically, cities step in and help facilitate something to happen. My only concern is I would like to see the city made whole. But I'm not really making the city whole. It's the funds
Yeah.
that are coming from this tax.
Yeah.
And we only have 6 or 7 of these, so thank goodness there's only 6 or 7 situations. But for those neighborhoods, they're in a bad situation, especially if one of these homes is on a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Talk about drag down the value of the resaleability of the homes around that home. It's horrible, and if
Yeah.
it's been going on for years,
Yeah.
so is there something we can do with
It's
these
an
funds that
option-
can do it?
It's an option that I'm hearing staff say that we can offer to people. If they don't want it, okay, but if they do want it, then there is a solution for them.
Yeah,
So-
there's property maintenance code violations in some of these.
That's what I'm saying.
So really,
Like,
there's a tool to force the issue, but, to clean it up.
But it's still the.
yeah.
So let me say this. These are ideas that staff is bringing before us. They've heard the debate going back and forth. Do you want staff to continue to bring back the idea, fleshed out a little bit more, and answer some of the questions and concerns that you presented this evening?
May I offer my opinion?
Yes,
No.
yes. Everybody has an opinion.
Hopefully it's
Cleanup
accounted
hitter's
for
not a bad
accurately.
Yeah.
I like the idea of this, sans the acquisition piece. So if there was a way for us to work with like a Habitat for Humanity,
Yeah.
as is probably, we've talked about, and get in and help fund their rehabilitation and the reoccupancy of these homes, but not necessarily taking possession of them. I think there's room to get this done, because I just think it could get a little sticky if we're buying and selling properties, because like Kara said, we don't have an HRA. I know that bigger communities have the resources to do that, but like Travis put, administered by a nonprofit vendor, I think there's room to do this program without the city of Burnsville taking possession of the home. I'm sure there's
Because the ownership
nonprofits.
is like Habitat, because we've done that before in partnership with the county and Habitat for Humanity. And it's right off Burnsville Parkway, going west, and as you come around and make the turn, it's right there, and there are about 8 Habitat homes there.
I remember working on one of those when I was
Yeah,
a kid.
and then the other is Volunteers for America is another organization that does all of this work. And so, and I agree with you, Ms. And what I think staff is presenting, it's an option and perhaps a solution for folks who want to do something with their property, but just don't have the wherewithal to do it.
Well,
and it also helps the neighborhood.
And how do we, and I guess you said we have 8 of these that we are aware of. I would be curious to see how many of those homes are owned by private equity versus Bob and Joan Johnson. Because if we're dealing with a private equity situation where it's just sitting on a call sheet somewhere, how do we even get to the right source to get acquisition of that property or to get into that property?
I think that's the work of Habitat or Volunteer for Americas and all of that. I think right now we're asking some very good questions, but I think that's something for staff to flesh out and find.
I am a lot more comfortable with this if you eliminate acquire. If you eliminate that the city owns the piece of property, if there is a path forward that we don't own it, we're not liable for it.
We're facilitating the,
If we provide the funding and another party handles really.
yeah, and we've done that before. Travis.
Madam Mayor and council members,
I'm just going to go to Travis, let him speak.
To expand on that idea, would the idea be, would it be acceptable for the nonprofit to acquire and own the building?
Yes, just not us, just not us acquire.
And we help fund the acquisition through the nonprofit.
So let's do this, council
I'm good
members.
with that.
Let's
That's what I'm saying.
ask staff to go forward with this idea and to flesh it out. They've heard the concerns,
There we go.
and they've heard
We don't need that liability.
the likes and dislikes or preference for different words. Perhaps it's about the language and how we communicate.
And I would think there's enough market comparison. Other cities are probably doing this, so there's.
Yes.
If we dig into this, we'll probably find out what companies or nonprofits are out there that are facilitating this type of work.
So we're basically reimbursing the
So
nonprofit to do that.
let me come back so that staff is clear with what.
To get to the same goal, it's just a different path.
Yes. Yeah, I have liability concerns.
No, I have no problem going to a nonprofit and say, buy the house, we'll pay to buy the house.
Yeah, that would be great.
What we're doing is we're having a partner. Travis?
Agreed.
Okay, so members of the council, go forth with this idea and continue to flesh it out? For staff to go forward with the idea and flesh it out, and,
Yes, I would like to see more on them, correct.
okay,
Yep, let's do it.
is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank
Thinking
you.
outside the box is what I like.
I appreciate that. And Councilmember Workman, just to answer your question, I had the list of properties that we're considering, one of which is an LLC. The other ones are privately owned.
Okay. Well, that makes the task a little bit, I think, more attainable then.
Yeah.
And that one LLC has done a little bit of work and hasn't done any for over a year again.
Yeah, and see, I
Are they the one that
like
had the
the idea
dumpster?
because now we understand
Yeah,
who
there's
owns the
2 of 'em in a
property. And if
cul-de-sac
they're an
area.
absentee landlord, they're awful.
Well, and so I also want to balance the not benefiting the negligent property owner I don't want them to benefit from, I gotta be careful how I say that, but.
Well, the thing is, I'm
you don't
looking
want
at
to
the whole
enrich them. I don't want to
neighborhood.
enrich somebody
It's the
who's
whole
neglected their
neighborhood
property.
that's been negatively impacted.
A house
And-
that's falling down is worth so much.
And how
so-
what
Right.
this program is going to do to help the whole neighborhood.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the end goal.
Yeah. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Travis,
council members,
back to
thank you for the robust discussion. One more idea to just put in front of you, and this was something that came up in conversation with neighborhood services and our firefighting staff. And this is the idea of just creating emergency vouchers, which would be a program to provide short-term housing for low-income families that are displaced due to fire, police activity, or property maintenance activity conducted by our neighborhood services folks. So think of like a hoarding situation. We would administer these dollars internally by staff as a grant, and we're thinking about, the demand is probably for about 10 families annually, and we would provide up to a 2-week stay at a local hotel. And they would ultimately be available to police, fire, and neighborhood services as the need arises.
Kind of emergency housing, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a real need that Councilmember Key.
I was really glad this came up because when I first reached out to ISD 191 Community Ed related to the festival and partnerships and what can we do together, one of the things that Jason Sellers said is they would like to find a way to raise money for a little fund that they had, because whenever there was a fire, families were turning to community ed for help. Like literally families would show up at their doorstep and say, we just lost our home, can you help us? They're not exactly, right, the agency that provides the services, but they were the agency that that family knew the most, had the best relationship with, and could get food. So they have like put money in themselves, done little whatever fundraisers to come up with money to give to these families. So to me, this is a great use of that housing funding to provide this emergency circuit breaker kind of help when they need it in emergency times, right? So I think this is great, and I had recommended that we reach out and connect with Jason Sellers at Community Ed and just talk to him about, you know, what they see, the frequency of use, that kind of stuff, and then partner with them, because they'll still probably go there, right? But we can be a conduit for funding it.
Yeah, and especially police, fire, and neighborhood services. Now we have another partner, Community Ed, because I do know when I volunteer over there during food pantry days, there's a lot of people who come, and that's their connection. When they're in food deserts or they need food, and that's where they see their safety line. But if we can help them with short-term stays at a hotel or motel, that allows them some comfort for the kids, stabilizes, and have those kids go to school and feel like, you know, life is going to be okay.
Yes, I like this. One question that I have to be fleshed out is if there's an up to 2-week local hotel stay, what happens after that 2 weeks?
Madam Mayor, council member, the idea was to create a temporary space where someone can correct whatever deficiencies might be currently in the property, whether it's due to police, fire, or neighborhood services enforcement action. So they have a temporary reprieve. We could extend it for longer than two weeks. That's certainly something we could build into perhaps how we might want to create this, but it was intended to be just a short-term stay so they can make their property minimally habitable and get back in there and have at least a safe place to sleep. But if 10 days, 2 weeks is not long enough, we could certainly explore extending that.
Well, and on the flip side of that, what if 2 weeks is long enough, but they will not leave the hotel?
Madam Mayor, council members, this does kind of hinge on us partnering with a local hotel, and I don't know what their protocols are, but I'm sure they have instances where folks squat in their spaces and have a strategy for vacating those spaces. So, and I assume they use our police department
I
to.
ask this because we, during COVID lockdowns, there were instances, and it sometimes took months to have people removed. And then the hotels wouldn't do that anymore, like they stopped doing it, and they made everyone leave. And, because there was then considerable damage. So I'm looking at both sides of this. What if a family needs to stay longer because of whatever circumstance? Also, to be good to our partners with the hotels, what happens if they're in that situation? Because we don't want to have them in that situation either.
One of the things that we've done in the past is work with the county to relocate them to another affordable rental unit, if it's available, whether it's in Burnsville or outside of Burnsville. But we've done that. The other is that in the past, we also worked with when there's domestic violence, and we would give them safe harbor at a place like this, and then work with Lois House, with 360 Community, at those shelters so that they can move from there to that safe environment very quickly. So in the past, we have done those, and I think that's some of the things to address some of your concerns. But the county, I know that, and this was last year or when there were fires, and then they were displaced, and they were in a hotel, but the county also helped at that time to get them relocated to another unit. And sometimes it was not in Burnsville, but there was a place for them to go to. And I think these are all great questions that allows Travis and the team in community development to flesh out and answer those concerns.
Yep, because that will be one of my big questions for that, is on both sides of that.
Understood.
Thank you.
So I think you kind of answered this. It sounds like yes to all.
Yeah, and to explore all of that.
Okay. I just want to conclude and wrap up with some next steps. So we will need to prepare a resolution deferring our CDBG responsibilities to the CDA, and anticipate that'll come before the council on June 3rd. We also want to review this with the Economic Development Commission, and we're anticipating presenting to them on June 6th.
Okay.
We will also need to update our existing policies around the rehab loan program and the senior deferred loan program, which I'm calling homework here. And that would potentially come before the council on June 17th, as well as a resolution authorizing the renewal of the CEE contract with the adjustments that we discussed tonight. And that would also be on the June 17th council meeting.
Okay. Council, any comments? Everybody okay with
Good.
what is presented?
You guys worked hard on this, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, Vince?
I love it.
Okay, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, Kara? Okay.
Great.
All unanimous. Thank you so much. To you, Beth, and the team in community development, and Jeff, for your leadership. I mean, getting us to this place where we have some funds that we can do some good things with. And finally, so thank you so much for all of your good work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
With deep
Thank you,
gratitude.
council members.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Well, I thought 8 o'clock, but it's 8:12. Okay, now we're moving.
The pool bet then, huh? Anybody pick 8:40?
I was at 8:45.
Yeah, okay, all right. Reports, Vince.
Quick update, I attended the Dakota County Emergency Ops Training with Sergeant Mahler a week or two ago. Found it very informative. I thought I took copious notes, but I cannot find them, so I will just leave it at, we've got a very good system in place in Burnsville and Dakota County for either weather emergencies or otherwise, and I'm just continually impressed with how we handle surprises in Burnsville.
Okay, Dan?
Nothing to report this week?
Kara?
Tomorrow, no, Thursday. Thursday, I'll have Dakota 911. Other than that, not really.
Okay, Dan?
I have a few notes.
What is the
8:45?
You gotta do the one.
Will you share their meetings?
No.
Just, I'll run through some things that I made notes on, so I go quick. MBTA introduced a bill, along with partnering with the U of M for a fair allocation of the Metro Transportation sales tax. We didn't have a complete unanimous STA support for doing this. MBTA is the largest, it's the second largest transit provider in the state, so we need to do what is in our best interest first. And the U of M has gotten the short end of the stick on funding and buses for decades. I was shocked to learn how much funding they were getting, how often their buses were replaced. It was amazing that the buses continue to run in the university area. So working to hopefully force some more serious discussions to bring a timely end to this sales tax allocation and get the funding that the transit providers, the suburban transit providers should be getting. Our Burnsville bus garage is being rehabilitated and is being expanded. It's well underway right now. More construction. The MBTA board meetings started virtual this month, and they're going to remain that way till probably November because our meeting room and dais is temporary office space while the rest of the building is being torn apart. Something that the folks that work in City Hall are going to experience pretty soon. National League of Cities TIS, very, very active right now because of activities in Congress, the reauthorization of the IIJA Infrastructure Act. And so there's a lot of call for writing letters, phone calls, et cetera, to our Congress and senators, so congressmen and women and senators. One of the focuses that we have that came out of last year from that community, or that committee, was direct funding under the ARPA model. So we'd like to see more funds go directly to cities, towns, and villages and bypass states, DOTs, and other, because all that does is add unnecessary bureaucracy, and the money that finally gets to us is smaller as a result. So we'd like to see a lot more go direct. I-35 Solutions met last week, and I was unable to attend. Met Transit presented the Orange Line update. We don't see a lot of Orange Line riders. Orange Line riders on the north side of the river through downtown is very, very strong. Apparently everybody gets off in Bloomington and doesn't ride into Burnsville yet. Hopefully one day, more than just a few shift changes on the corner street, we'll get on the bus and ride it all the way. The other thing they presented was Network Now priorities, or I'm sorry, updates. Network Now is Met Transit program for analyzing their entire system. There's a lot of changes in public transit, as you can imagine, with the advent of work from home and post-COVID. And so Network Now equates to what routes will be canceled or deleted. Obviously, that's a sensitive subject. People who are still riding those routes that are likely going to get canceled are not going to be happy. But it's a nice way of saying it. Network Now updates. MnDOT, the 3 bridge construction that we are all feeling the pain from, boy, it's very rough for everybody. All of us are feeling the same pain that all of you that might be watching this program are feeling. The thing I'm concerned more, because we usually find our way, it's got a very big negative impact on businesses, and that's not unusual. Construction of this nature usually is highly detrimental to businesses. It happens every time this scale of project is taken on. Unfortunately, these this level of project doesn't happen but every 40 to 50 years, but this is an unusual one because of 3 bridges being done at the same time and not staged over a period of time to minimize the impact. So we have been working with MnDOT. The mayor and I attended a meeting. I had a report sent back from MnDOT. I think it was 100 and some pages of architectural drawings and showing all the detours. Some folks that own a business that have been obviously very seriously concerned about this and experienced some significant drop in business. I shared some information with them, and they went and drove all the routes and verified that they couldn't find any additional missing detour signs that people could use to get to their business. They're just not getting to their business. My comment earlier about putting some nice lighting on those signs is really just in the spirit of trying to make it as best as possible for these businesses that are suffering very badly. This level of disruption can have permanent financial damage to these businesses, and we don't want to see any business in Burnsville close and not reopen as a result of this construction, but the reality is that could happen. It is an unfortunate byproduct of this level of construction. Burnsville Chamber of Commerce Public Policy Committee has held 2 chamber member only recorded virtual meetings. In those meetings, I provide a city update, and Scott provides an ISD 191 board update. I usually have 12 to 15 items to go through because we have a lot going on, as we all know. As Jenny definitely knows because she pays for it all. And then just finally, a note, I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to Washington, D.C. to attend our National Law Enforcement Memorial Service, which is being held on the Capitol lawn on Thursday at 11 o'clock. And this is not a sanctioned city visit. This isn't taxpayer funded. I'm doing it on my own because I think, and I wish all of us could go, because I made a commitment to PD that I would be there, and I want to make sure I am there and show support for our fallen heroes. And apparently security is very tight because BJ is there and he asked me for my driver's license, and he said, bring your passport and your city badge because there are some dignitaries that are going to speak and they've got it pretty locked down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And some of us will stay back and make sure that everything is going well. Thank you, Jenny and Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't have anything to report. MLC is going to be later this month, and I already reported on our meeting with Savage, because most of my meetings are quarterly. The only thing is that the Community Foundation, we continue to work on raising money for the winter lights and also for the pavers, and talked about how we can continue to improve that. And there is some improvement, I believe, Garrett, that came up where you don't have to remove the pavers anymore, that the person who owns this new business can come and do the etching right at the park. So that's a good one. And then the other is homage, and that's still continuing to work. The foundation and the city continues to work towards implementing, hopefully this year. Okay, did I miss anything in the Community Foundation? Okay, otherwise, that's all that I have. Is there anything, oh, Michelle, yes, you have something to report on, and it's meetings.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. We have the great pleasure of having the problem of too many commission applicants this year, and we're not going to be able to get all of our interviews in one evening. And I have touched base with all of you, and so we are expecting, not only will we be meeting on Tuesday, May 27th, and we're going to back that up to 4:30 p.m. We're also going to be meeting on Thursday, May 29th, starting at 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, and I'm appreciative of starting at 5:30 p.m. on the 30th, because our police department is having their open house, and I would like to go and attend that open house for a bit.
So
half hour.
Thursday is what time?
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
Police
And-
open house
and
starts at
because-
5, so we'll have a half hour we can spend
Yeah,
there.
and the other thing is that for me, it's not just police, but the residents who come and see that we are present. But
Agreed.
we can only do a half hour, and I'm hoping that that would be suffice.
I'll make sure that that gets added to your calendars.
Yeah.
It already
that would
is,
be great.
It's already on.
Okay. Anything else from staff? Okay. We stand adjourned by acclamation. Good night, everybody.